Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids and welcome to Artifacts 101. This is like a content creator community event organized by Plarium where they've asked all of us content creators to consider doing videos about the different aspects of artifacts in this game, right? What types of artifacts are good? Where should you farm? What I'm going to do in this video is actually talk about the dungeons that drop gear and what type of gear you want, like the stuff in Dragon's Lair. What's good? What sorts of gear do I want from it? What sort of stats? That's what we're going to be diving into. This is like a more simple version of the guide by Panda, right? Panda's guide, it goes in super detail, which is more end game focused. I'm going to make it more general, bit more simple. But if you do want to see this full guide by Panda, you can actually find it on my Discord channel. It's linked in the description. It's actually one of the pinned comments in the nub chat over here, and he's got lots of other information as well for RSL helper and stuff like that, so definitely check that out if you're interested. One little bonus thing as well before we talk about the dungeons, I will mention that stage 6 here, Palace of Aravia, particularly on Nightmare, where it can actually drop 6-star gear, this can be worth farming on stage 6 for speed boots, right? 6-star speed boots in the speed set is key for getting speed, and that can be really valuable. Getting 1 or maybe 2 pairs of these boots with speed on them in the early game can be massive for getting your speed champion in arena faster. And then even when you get later in the game, you can start farming Sand Devils and start ascending up that gear, right? Getting a 6-star speed boot in speed set that ascends with speed can be really valuable as well. So don't sleep on this. It's a sneaky little thing that you can do that can be quite worthwhile. Jumping over to the dungeons, let's dive in. Let's start with Dragon. It's the easiest dungeon. It's the first one you're going to go into. And I think it's also the weakest one overall. Best set in here. We just talked about the boots, right? But speed. Speed is the best set over here. 12% extra speed. Very simple, really, the substats you're looking for on this. It's basically just speed. You're looking for gear with as much speed as possible so you can go first in arena. You can go first against bosses, etc. I'd say the second best set is probably actually accuracy. Falls off a little bit later in the game because perception from Faction Wars is so good, but this is still a great set. You need accuracy to land debuffs, and you're looking for accuracy and speed. This is sort of a general rule, okay? You pretty much always want to match the substats on the gear and the main stats on the gear with the bonuses that you're getting from the gear set. That can be very valuable. Typically as well, we're going to want to combine crit rate, crit damage with damage type stat, so defense, attack, or HP, depending on where your damage comes from. You might need a bit of accuracy in there as well. If we're building tanky champions with support sets, like not that many, Stalwart we'll talk about is somewhat of a support set. You might be building HP percent, defense percent, resist and accuracy, and of course speed. Speed we kind of want on everyone, right? Speed is like the best stat, basically. Those two are really good. Lifesteal can be okay early game, very early on, especially when you're 6-star champions with War Master or Giant Slayer for healing against Demon Lord Clan Boss, stuff like that. I would get 1 set of Destroy for Scarab Boss. I would try to get 1 good set of Toxic. And that's probably it. You can easily sell Frost, you can easily sell Daze. With Destroy and Toxic and even Lifesteal, generally what you're looking for would be speed, crit rate, crit damage, maybe some damage stats, maybe some accuracy. You can also go like HP percent, defense percent with Toxic as well. With Avenging, it's pretty much the same thing as well. You can, I'd say, probably get about 1 good set of Avenging is about all you need. And again, you're looking for speed, crit rate, crit damage. It's sort of a damage focused set. Stalwart can go either way. I'm slightly blocking this. This is a disaster. Stalwart can go, I'm still blocking it. It's even bigger disaster. Less damage from AoE attacks. Again, you probably don't need too many sets of this. Maybe 1 or 2. You could have a tanky set. That can be good for Ice Golem hard, for keeping a healer or a reviver alive, something like that. You could also get a damage-based set. That could be good too with crit rate, crit damage, and speed and stuff like that. So that is Dragon. On the whole, this is a fairly weak dungeon. I don't farm it too much. The main time you would farm this is going to be during drop frenzy events for speed. And you're going to do some as well for every single fusion if you're taking part in those. And you'll probably build up these other sets just by doing that. So this, for me, is a very low priority dungeon to farm. It's just not very high up. Now, Ice Golem's Lair, this used to be a very bad dungeon, but it's become much, much better. I think straight off the bat, life, offense, defense, crit rate, and honestly, even resistance these days. If you get a really good gear piece in them, You can keep it, of course, but these are pretty weak sets, and you could honestly pretty much sell these without too much stress, I think. They're not super valuable. On the other hand, Retaliation, Reflex, Curse, and Provoke are extremely good. The best one is going to be Reflex, which can reduce your skill cooldowns. And what I'd be looking to do with Reflex, you're going to definitely want Speed. Speed is the main stat for this, and then you can go either way. You could go for a damage dealer. So, crit rate, crit damage, and a damage dealing stat. Attack percent probably is the most common. Alternatively, you can go, Speed with HP percent, defense percent, which is good for a support type champion. Accuracy is likely something you're going to want in this as well. Fairly unlikely you're going to build too much resistance with a reflex set. It's more of an offensive set, but still something to keep in mind. Cursed is very similar. Chance to place Hex. This is the best set in the game at the moment for Hydra Clan Boss. It's extremely good. That does mean at maximum, you kind of need maximum of 3 good curse sets. You could potentially run tons of Reflex. Reflex is the big one to farm. Cursed is definitely worth having a great set or 2, maybe even up to 3. And again, you're really looking for speed, right? Getting as many turns to place as many Hex debuffs as possible. Accuracy is another good one for this. That's likely going to be on someone with AoE attacks and debuffs. You can go for a damage type set with crit rate, crit damage, and damage stats. More likely, you're going to go for more of a tanky set with HP percent, some defense percent, mostly focused on speed and accuracy. Provoke is up next. Chance to Provoke, very good for Hydra, decent for Arena, good for Doom Tower. Speed and accuracy are the main ones here, and then probably tanky stats after that. And finally, Retaliation, more of a damage focus set, right? Chance to counterattack when hit. So here you're going to be looking for speed, right? Crit rate, crit damage, and some damage stats would be the main things to look for there. And that is Ice Golem. It's a pretty good dungeon to farm. You've got a lot of very strong sets here, especially for Hydra. Definitely Reflex is the best time to farm, but Curse, Provoke, Retaliation, they're all sets that can be worth farming for during drop frenzies. And there's so many good sets here. If you're short on these sets and you're progressing on Hydra, this can be a great dungeon to farm pretty much anytime. Let's jump over to the Spider's Den next. A little bit of a mix up here because we're going for accessories, right? But let's talk about it. Spider, I'd say the rules are fairly simple. With a ring, okay, you want to match the substats with the main stat. So if you get an attack ring, you want attack percent on it. With a HP ring, HP percent, defense ring, defense percent. And again, typically with HP rings, I'm looking for HP percent and defense percent. Defense rings, again, defense percent and HP percent. Attack doesn't matter as much. It's really all about the attack percent, but a bit of HP or defense percent never went badly. The more percentage substats you have, the better, but it is very important for them to match the main stat. I mean, it's a little more flexible. Like you could have a HP ring with lots of defense percent, and that's okay, or a defense ring with lots of HP percent, but generally trying to match the substats. Amulets are definitely more complicated here. Crit damage are probably the big ones you're looking for. And with crit damage amulets, you're typically looking for a damage substat. For an attack-based nuker, you're looking for lots of attack. Oftentimes, you're going to be looking for accuracy as well. Across all of the ring types, accuracy is very important. Attack amulets are only really for bomb champions. So accuracy is the stat to get there. In fact, it's pretty much the only one that matters. And yeah, for HP and defense, these are going on tanky champions, support type champions. So you're looking for a bit of HP and defense, and you're likely mostly looking for accuracy and resistance are going to be the most valuable things. So yeah, crit damage, looking for damage. Attack, you're looking for accuracy. HP and defense, pretty much accuracy, resistance are the main things. And otherwise, just stuff that's going to be consistent with the types of champions you're using. Banners, again, fairly complicated here. All types of these banners are good, and similar sort of rules to other things, right? Speed is number one. I would say on every banner type, in fact, speed is the number one substat that you want to look for. With HP, attack, and defense, it's like rings. You're going to be matching the main stat with a substat. So with attack, you want attack percent. With defense, you want defense percent and speed. Attack is attack percent, speed. HP percent, speed. Accuracy, resistance, it's really all about the speed. Unlikely with both of those, you're going to be trying to stack up some defensive stats as well. So some HP percent or defense percent, much like the rings, the more percentage substats and speed rolls you've got, pretty much the better. So that's what you do with the banners. And yeah, I mean, because these are all broken up between factions, there's a lot of farming you've got to do. Spider is also the best source of silver, so this is like an always farm dungeon. It's really fast to farm it as well. This is a massive dungeon. You're always going to be farming Spider. Getting a good Spider team is very important. It's the best one for clan versus clan tournaments too. So Spider is a pretty big deal. Then finally for the gear dungeons, we've got Fire Knight. I still actually have not beaten Fire Knight hard fully. It's a tough dungeon. Probably hard Fire Knight, the hardest dungeon, definitely. Fire Knight has a lot of good sets in it. A lot of good sets. Nearly all of these sets are pretty good. Now, you can basically straight off the bat just sell immunity. That's really not used much anymore. You can sell frenzy as well. That got nerfed and is really just not used anymore. The rest of the sets are all potentially a little bit good though. Best one, definitely Savage, ignoring defense. This is a staple of your nukers. So you're looking for speed, crit damage, crit rate, and then damage dealing stats, either lots of attack or lots of defense or lots of HP, right? That's what you're looking for with Savage. I'd say the second best set overall is probably Regeneration. Very useful for soloing stuff, massive for progression. It's a support type set. So you're looking for speed, you're looking for HP percent, a little bit less defense percent, and probably accuracy and or resistance. Yeah, you could have both, but yeah, support type stats, tanky type stats. With stun set, chance to stun, this one again is all about speed and a little bit of accuracy as well. And then sort of any other stats matter, but it's really all about that speed and that accuracy. And then we come, they're definitely the three strongest. And then you've got, in my mind, 3 to 4 more mid-range sets that are usable for sure, but you might not go too crazy on. Shield is decent, big shield. With shield set, speed is really good, and HP percent is the big thing to look for, because the more HP you've got, the bigger the shield is. So that's usually what you're looking for with shield. Crit damage is a great 2-piece damage set. Not really a surprise. Speed, crit rate, crit damage, and some sort of attacking stat is your ideal right there. Curing set, this can be kind of nifty for Hydra, and might be for any future stuff in the game where destroyed HP is something that comes in. Very much a support set. You're looking for speed, potentially accuracy or resistance, or both maybe, and probably some HP percent and defense percent. You want to be just surviving, taking lots of turns, and doing lots of healing. Fury can be a decent damage set, so speed, crit rate, crit damage, damage stats. And yeah, I think that does it here for Fire Knight. This is a great dungeon to farm, right? This is nearly always a good dungeon to farm. The big ones are obviously the bottom 3, Savage, bonus events, even regen bonus events, stun bonus events. All of these can be useful. You're probably going to need multiple copies of these sets. You're going to need so many copies of Savage for Arena and so many areas of the game. Lots of copies of Stun is really the key to a lot of hard Doom Tower secret rooms. So that's a great set to get. And then Regen, again, is really key to a lot of Faction Wars, soloing any dungeons, anything like that. So you're going to need a lot of copies of these sets, pretty much. And you can never go wrong with crit damage. The other ones is a bit more questionable. Like, it's probably good to have one good set of curing. And yeah, you can have a good bit of crit damage, maybe 1 or 2 good shield sets, and so on. So Fire Knight's pretty good. My preference of the dungeons, it's maybe kind of surprising. Dragons that are low priority. I actually have pretty high priority on Ice Golem for Hydra, high priority on Fire Knight. And then Spider's Den is quite different because it's accessories, but yeah, it's a very high priority dungeon to farm as well. So there you go. Hopefully this was a good overview of the different sets in the game. I can move back to my corner. I like to hide in the corner here for the videos. It's where I go. Let me know if you've got any other tips or advice. Hopefully this was helpful and insightful. Again, you can find a more detailed guide with lots of breakdowns with such things as ideal substats for every single set in detail, how you want those substats broken down. Like, I want 3 speed and any substat, right? That can work, all this sort of stuff. Even more detail for boots versus chest plates versus gauntlets versus, yeah, lots of details there if you want to go more in depth. But thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Check out the other Artifact 101 videos in the playlist. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.